All right, so when we bought the new place, I did notice this issue with the water heater. This vent draft diverter was touching the copper supply line, creating an electrolysis, and it had all this built up, they call it electrolysis, where you have dissimilar metals touching each other. So I chipped it away and chipped it away, and I've been working this nut trying to break it free. And hopefully we won't have to replace that nipple. When we get in there, we'll be able to tell, because those can be really heck to replace. It'd almost be time to replace the water heater sometimes, if you can't get that nipple out. I've gotten one where it broke off and I was able to peel out the pieces of thread and replace the nipple. So I do have high hopes for us here, but we're gonna try to get this nut broke free first, and then see if we can get that nipple out, or see if it needs replacement. So we got the gas on pilot for now, and we've got the water off here at the top. Since these gate valves don't stop the water completely, there's usually still a drip. That's why we got the hose connected down here with the valve open, and we'll probably flush it anyway. So we were able to get this nut to break, so about to see how this nipple is. You can hear the water sucking through, venting as it drains down here. Now that we broke it with the pipe wrench, kind of easy to use the channel lock. So hopefully these threads will surprise us and still be good enough to put a new supply line on. I don't know if they're gonna work. Let me see if I clean this up and see how it looks. All right, so I was able to break this free. What I did was, because these tend to crush when you put too much leverage on them with the big pipe wrench. So I took an old tool, jammed it inside there, so that when I wrench on it and this tries to crush, there's something backing it up inside. And sure enough, it was heck to get to break, and it did deform the nipple trying to come out. But I was able to break those threads, and I just put a big cheater on the pipe wrench, and we got it broke. So we're gonna pull that nipple out, replace the nipple, and then get on to putting in the recirc pump. I'm glad I didn't try to reuse this nipple. These threads were really bad, and it was pretty rotted. It was only a matter of time before there was a leak. All right, we got a brand new heat trap fitting for the our nipple, the top of the water heater here. And you see here, all this looks like they had a leak from their the swamp cooler connection also. But luckily, this all on the outside here of the water heater is the outer shell, and the actual tank is inside. So this doesn't really bother the function of the water heater. But yeah, we'll get our new heat trap in, and then figure out a way to get the recirculating pump in. All right, so we took this vent apart and got the correct angles so that it sits directly above the draft diverter. You can see these plumbers even cut this to get it to fit, and they still didn't get it the right angle. A lot of plumbers have a hard time getting this angle right. And then, just something so simple as that, is this being off kilter, touching this brass nut over here, causing that electrolysis, eventually bursting because it does eat through the pipe. Another thing I forgot to tell you, when you have this left side disconnected, even though the cold water's off, make sure, even though the hot water's off, I should say, the cold feed to the hot water, don't turn on any faucets. because those faucets have a mixing valve and it will start to pour out of this left side if you do that. So there you go. All right, so next we're gonna pull off this old supply line back there. We're gonna sweat that connection apart, clean it up real well, and then put a new supply line. So I ran out of acetylene or MAP gas, so I had to use some propane. Took a little longer here. And I didn't feel like pulling out the big torch with the B tank. So when I was cleaning it up here, though, I found that it has some voids where the solder didn't take and the water was starting to eat the copper away. So I had to cut that part off to get a good clean connection with this shark bite fitting that I had on hand. All right, so now we'll get this recirc pump positioned, and then we'll get the supply line connected and do a test. Make sure you open up the hot faucets in your house to let the air displace as you fill the tank. And let those run until there's no more air spitting out. We have no leaks, so we're gonna go ahead and reinstall this vent. All right, all worked out as planned. We got the cold water valve back on and it's fully pressurized, no leaks. We got the new water heater heat trap nipple in, and now we got the recirculating pump itself installed, new supply line, and no leaks anywhere. So, and of course we got our vent back installed correctly so that it's not touching the brass over here and leaning all weird, catching the carbon monoxide properly. The way this is designed is so that the exterior draft, the air around it goes through this diverter and helps push the exhaust gases up through the flue. So anyways, let's go inside and install the other part for this recirculating pump. All right, so for this next part, we're going to be at the sink that takes the longest to get hot water. So in ours, it's the master bathroom. Looking at these lines, I'm going to definitely need to replace this supply line. So I'm going to have to make a run to the parts store because I didn't have any of those. So we got these turned off. We relieved the valve on the faucet up top. All right, so the hot side is this side, looks like. Yeah, they got them crossed. So looks like this is the hot side. So the cold side gets this flash valve, it's called, on this model. There's a lot of different models of these, but for this cheap version, it has this flash valve here. So we'll get that one threaded on. I like to just put a little bit of dope just on the threads, not on the sealing part where the rubber washer is inside. It just helps those dry threads turn better, and it helps them not to lock up when you try to take it off later. And those don't have to be super tight because there's a rubber washer inside of it. And yeah, I don't think that this supply line is going to work. I'm sure it's going to leak. So we'll have to go to the store and get one either way eventually, but we'll see if we can get it running for now without a leak. That'd be great, but I doubt it. Okay, we won't tighten it too much because that washer's already crushed. All right, and while we're there, we'll get supply lines for both sides. Might as well. While you're replacing one, might as well do the other. These supply lines are only really supposed to be used for up to 5 years because they're rubber, and that rubber breaks down after 5 years. So you really want to replace all of them in your house every 5 years per manufacturer recommendation. Of course, I've seen them last for like 20 years or more, but just to be safe, it never hurts to replace them. Especially if you're doing a repair, and that's a perfect time. So it says that this regular tea goes on the hot side. Okay. And like I say, on ours it's backwards. It looks like our hot is on the right and cold is on the left. Okay, just snug it up for now. Let's see, hopefully these lines don't leak right away on us. Tighten them a little snug. And then like I say, same thing goes with these supply lines. You never want to put it on the washer itself, but it doesn't hurt to put it on the threads to help them, you know, help those threads go on a lot easier instead of dry threads. So here's our crossover connection. And what it's doing is, when we have the pump running, as far as the timer on the pump, it's going to be pushing water to this flash valve, pushing it to this side of the flash valve. And when this flash valve, somehow thermostatically, I believe, when it feels, senses that the heat, that it's not hot anymore in this line, it goes ahead and puts the water through to the cold side, which in turn goes back to the water heater as far as feeding it through that cold line that feeds it on top of the water heater. You know, it feeds it back into the cold system. So anyway, got to do some more repairs while we're under here. The pop-up came loose. Snug those up because there are rubber washers in there, so you don't have to over tighten those at all. All right, let's turn the water back on and see if she leaks. Okay. Okay, let's make sure which one is hot and which one's cold. Yep, that's the hot. Okay, cool. All right, so far no leaks. Those old supply lines will work for now. Run to the supply house and get some new ones. And then we'll find out now if the hot water recirculating pump works in the morning anyways, because we've got to let all the water settle, and then we'll do a test in the morning. All right, so the way you set this is, let's see, it's 240. So there's a little arrow right here. So you just turn the outer ring until the arrow lines up with the time of day. So it's in 24-hour increments. So 240 would be a 1440. So 1430. Each little dot is a 15-minute increment. So 1530, 45, right before 45. All right, so time set with that little arrow. And now you flip these out for the times that you want the water to push through, to recirculate, and to have, you know, basically instant hot water. So, you know, whatever time of day you're home, let's say, so we'll flip that section out. You're like us, say you're using the hot water 3 in the morning, so you want it recirculating at about 2:30. Get it started about a half hour early, so at 3 it'll already be warm. And then let's say you use the hot water until about 6 o'clock and you go to work. And you know, when you go to work or whatever, if you're not in the house, you can leave it off so that it's not using the power and it's not using the water heater function. In other words, it's not firing up the water heater as it keeps the water hot. So when you're not home, you'll keep those in. And then say you're home and you're up until let's say 10 o'clock. So that would be, let's see, that would be 2,200 hours. So if you want it to stay circulating all the way till then, there you go. If you only want it when you get home to take a shower, then you just leave that section on there and so on. So that's pretty much how you set it. Of course, you do have an on function where you can have it full-time on. If, say, you're at home in one of these sections of time, you can always come and just flip it to on. Within about 30 minutes, it should circulate through there to an hour and get you instant hot on that end. The nice part is it's not wasting water at all by recirculating it. It's just sending it back to the cold side of the system. So really neat little device, not having to run a whole line all the way back from that farthest point. This is a really good option for that. And they've seemed to work great in the past for me when I've installed them for customers. So this is the first one I put in my own place. So I'll get back to you and let you know how it runs. So it did end up working great. And the next day when we woke up, we immediately had hot water. Not hot. It was immediately warm, and then hot came in about 30 seconds. Whereas before we were taking about 1 minute to 2 minutes of water just running down the drain before it was hot. So I definitely recommend these over plumbing in, the traditional type where you got to plumb a line all the way back from the farthest hot line back to the water heater and then put a pump in at the bottom, a continuous pump. These work really great. So thanks for watching. Hope it helped.